How's
going
everybody
on,
doing?
Justin? How we
Chilling.
feeling? Draft is right around the corner, man.
It is right around the corner, man, and that's the beautiful thing. You got your initial wave of free agency, and then you got this dead period. When are we going to trade Dalvin Cook? What are we going to do with Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter? And are we going to make some trades? We're going to trade up. We're going to trade back. It's the fun time of the off season right now.
Right. So much to talk about, especially in Vikings land. So much more movement that needs to be made and storylines that are going to come out just within the next 2 to 3 weeks leading up to the draft. So it's a lot to talk about. But leading up to the draft, I mean, it seems like we go through every week the position of need or the position that we think we're going to go in the first round seems to change almost day to day. It almost seems like, Justin. Right. So right now, where are we sitting at? Where are we going round one? What is the position of need? Or not even necessarily the position of need. What is the position that the Minnesota Vikings are going to draft at the end of this month?
Well, I'll answer your question with a question. It depends on what their mindset is. If you ask what's their biggest position of need for the 2023 season, you can make an argument for cornerback. You can make an argument for interior defensive line. You can make an argument for wide receiver. Yep. If you're talking about what's the Vikings' biggest need when you're talking about not just the 2023 season, you can come up with a couple different answers. So if we're going to stick to one side of the house or the other, you can come up with a bunch of different answers. Like you said, if you're talking about just 2023, there's 4 or 5 positions. You can go through almost every position that's not named quarterback, fullback, or kicker, or punter. Okay? Everything else you could do. You could do defensive backfield, linebackers, defensive line, interior offensive line, wide receiver.
Maybe anything. Besides tight end. I think we might be a lock at tight end.
We're good at tight end. That's a good point. But, if you're talking long-term future, I mean, that's the key as a general manager. How do you balance what you need right now to be competitive for the upcoming season versus, okay, I've got this slew of players where this many are on the last year of their contracts, or this is a position that we could upgrade long-term at or hope to upgrade long-term at. So that's the delicate tightrope that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has to walk as to, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Kirk Cousins is 98% going to be the starting quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings in the 2023 season. Yep. Just to recap what has happened, they sat down at the negotiating table. The Vikings offered him 1 year. Kirk wanted at least 2. And right now they're at an impasse, So if you're going to go into this draft and you've made your mind up to say this is the last dance for Kirk Cousins, well, then you have to decide, is this the year you draft a quarterback to replace him in 2024, or do you put that off for another year? Now, does that make that the biggest area of need? Not necessarily, but it's something that you have to keep in mind. That's why he gets paid the general manager bucks is, where do I put my resources? Do I put my resources on fixing the needs for this coming season, or do I put my resources into fixing my long-term possibilities as well?
Are we going to go quarterback? Are we really going to go quarterback at 23 with Hendon Hooker that we're getting mocked to? Hendon Hooker is getting mocked to us in multiple mock draft. It's kind of getting scary to me. Don't get me wrong. I like Hendon Hooker, but at 23,
no. Go ahead. You don't have to. It's a no for me. I like Hendon Hooker in the second round. If you're not going to do the trade up to try to get, as School Mafia put out there, an Anthony Richardson, or if Anthony Richardson gets taken in the top 2 and Bryce Young is still available at 3 or beyond, if you're not going to go that route, and you miss out on Will Levis. Let's say Will Levis falls to, say, pick 15 or 16. I can see the Vikings trading up about 8 spots for a guy like that. I'm not interested in trading up the farm to get a guy like Will Levis. If I'm trading the farm, I'm getting one of Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson. But let's say you miss out on both of those possibilities. I do not like the idea of taking Hendon Hooker with the 23rd pick. If you wanted to trade back to, say, 29 and recuperate some other capital that way, take the 4th or 5th wide receiver that's available and then make a trade and come back and get Hendon Hooker, I'm okay with that plan, absolutely. But just straight up taking Hendon Hooker at number 23, thanks, but no thanks. There's too many questions.
we got a prediction here. Minneapolis, Minnesota says Levis is falling to 23. I don't want Hooker. You believe Levis will fall to 23?
That's tough because you have to filter through this time of the year how much of the information that is being disseminated is true and how much of
Mm-hmm.
it is smokescreens trying to drum up leverage. I made reference on one of my videos about, when it was talking about Lamar Jackson, we're talking about Kirk Cousins. Who's leaking this information and why? Is it the
Yep.
team that's trying to gain leverage over a player, or is it the player's agent that's trying to gain leverage over a team? The amount of mockage of both Hendon Hooker and Will Levis and how interested the Vikings are in either one of those two guys, is it legit or is it smoke screens to say, well, if you want one of these two guys, you better get him before Minnesota does because Minnesota's going to take him. I don't know. If Will Levis fell to 23, that's a position where I'm comfortable taking Will Levis. I still
You
have my
kind of got
questions.
to. You
At
kind of
that
got to
point,
at
you
that
kind of have
point.
to. Yes.
You'd be dumb to pass it up. I mean, look, he could be a bust. He could be another, just like it's thrown out there so recklessly, another Christian Ponder just because we drafted a quarterback in the first round. But you can't go into that thinking, oh my God, well, if we do this, it's going to be another player. It's going to be a terrible risk and it's going to set our franchise. But you can't go about it that way. And to be honest, yes, the Minnesota Vikings as a franchise, we don't have a Super Bowl, but we are a very relevant franchise. We will bounce back if we lose a player or if we have a bust in a quarterback like Christian Ponder. This franchise manages to bounce back. Yes, we haven't conquered the ultimate goal, but we always find a way to bounce back and put together very good teams. And eventually we will conquer that goal and win a Super Bowl title. It's probably not going to be this year, but yeah, but this organization is run well to where we're not going to be
a train wreck.
Yeah, we're not going to be a train wreck once Kirk Cousins leaves or if we draft a quarterback and he doesn't work out. If Will Levis is sitting there at 23, you got to take him. There's no question about it. I don't think you're going to have teams trying to trade up for Will Levis. I don't think he makes it to 23, if I'm being completely honest.
I mean, East Coast put his in, hey, Justin, you already know how I feel about Levis, and we do. I mean, he's out on Will Levis, if I remember correctly. But to your point,
I'm almost there, but at 23, you got to take him.
Think back to, we were talking about it last night, the Herschel Walker trade. We lost 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks and a whole lot more. And Dennis Green came in and we still went to the playoffs. Yep. Okay, so if you take a quarterback, whether it's a Will Levis at 23 or even if it's you trade 3 first-round picks to take an Anthony Richardson or a Bryce Young and they don't work out, the franchise isn't going to fold. It's not. Now, it's unfortunate that you would waste that draft capital, but just think back. Since 2015, before Justin Jefferson and Christian Darrisaw were our 2 good first-round picks, you had a year in 2016 where you drafted Laquan Treadwell. You had nothing in 17 because we traded for Sam Bradford. 18 was Mike Hughes. 19 was Garrett Bradbury, if I recall correctly. All right. Yeah. And then 2020 is finally Justin Jefferson. You going to tell me right now that if the Vikings traded up the same capital that they used on Laquan Treadwell, Garrett Bradbury, and Mike Hughes to get an Anthony Richardson, that, oh my gosh, this team would fall apart. We didn't fall apart when we wasted those 4 first-round draft picks when it's all said and done. So with all that being said, we've said it on both of our channels. Scared money doesn't make money.
Exactly.
Okay? There are times to be conservative. There's times to hold your cards to the vest, and then there's times to just go for it. So at the end of the day, we need to get past this Christian Ponder, PSTD, the Teddy Bridgewater, who was an okay quarterback who was ascending, but then he got injured and then he was done. Get past the Tavares Jackson fears. You know what? Lots of teams pick quarterbacks. You're never going to find a final product coming out of college. They don't exist. There's always an inherent risk. So
always
get over it. Let's get a guy.
Money don't make money.
Yes.
Scare money don't make money. So let's get to this one last comment, and then we're going to do our top 10 mock, and then we'll do a quick Minnesota Vikings mock draft as well, and then we'll get out of your guys' hair for the day. But our favorite name so far, look, we got a lot of good names that tap into our podcast.
Absolutely.
But Minneapolis, Minnesota might take the cake. Says, I personally just think the new GM isn't messing around, lighting a fire under anything and anyone, and I love it.
Absolutely.
I agree. It's long overdue. I mean, I love Rick Spielman, and I still love him, regardless of what you feel about his his draft and who he picked and who he didn't pick and how he handled certain situations. I liked Rick Spielman a lot, but the thing I didn't like about him is he didn't have much I'm going to take care of business in me. He was very passive Rick Spielman. I'm not going to cut the hometown hero guy if I need to, or a veteran player, a veteran Minnesota Viking. Kwesi, he said, I don't got ties to any of you guys. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to move on. I don't care who you are. Let's go. So I agree with you, man. Like,
absolutely. I'm gonna say two things.
Gotta love the change of scenery. Go ahead.
Yes, Justin. I'm gonna say two things on Minneapolis's thing right here. First off, you are now right there, objects in the mirror closer than they appear, with the greatest Twitter handle, YouTube handle of all time, and that's my worthless opinion. And I say that on every show that I do, every time I see him on there. And for a while, I just
always great
because it's hilarious. I'm gonna say it like this: you're right there. Because that is a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful handle. But to your point, we did a live when they cut Adam Thielen, and it was right after they had also cut Eric Kendricks. Yeah. And what did I say? Kwesi is taking no prisoners right now, and he has got zero bleeps left to give. He's coming in, he's cleaning house, and he doesn't give a dang about anybody's feelings at this point. And I totally agree with Minneapolis there to say, hey, I'm here for it. And it's long, long overdue to finally get into a point where we're moving on from the same old stuff. I love it.
And it's not just those two moves that show that example. It's also the Kirk Cousins move of, hey, we're not, look, we appreciate the discount. We appreciate the offer. But, we're looking in a different direction. He ain't playing with that. You look at the Za'Darius situation. Za'Darius went to the extent of posting on his Instagram, on his Twitter, thank you, Skull Nation, Minnesota. It's been great. It's been a great 1 year. Like, I'm out of here. Not a word from Kwesi. Hasn't traded him. Hasn't cut him. He's playing hardball. He's playing hardball. So I love it. I love it. We need to change the scenery. I love the term Minnesota nice, but not for my football team.
No. You need dogs. What's up, dogs? What's up, Rap?
We need dogs. So I completely agree with you. It's a great change of scenery. And to be honest with you, our team's getting a little savvy now. We got a little swagger now. Like before it was just so vanilla, and we had, obviously we had great players. We have Harrison Smith still, but we had Harrison Smith, we had Everson Griffin, but we didn't really have a identity or a sense of cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're cool now. We're one quarterback away from being the coolest team in the league.
They had a lot of
no
quiet
shot
leaders.
Against Kurt.
Right. They had a lot of quiet leaders. And what I mean by that is, Everson Griffin, when he was in his prime, was like the one guy, the rah-rah, I'm going to run through a wall to get you everybody pumped up and that sort of thing. Danielle Hunter, I'm going to let my play do the talking. It takes me back to the movie Remember the Titans, where you had those two linebackers that didn't like each other for more than just football reasons, let's just say. And Bertier was the, I'm going to get in your face and I'm going to tell you what you're doing wrong. And Julius Campbell, that character was just like, man, I'll let you do the talking. I'm just going to go play football. Yeah. But they were both leaders and they both had different leadership styles. Right now, the Vikings, since Everson Griffin left, I mean, Harrison Smith's not that rah-rah guy. He just goes out and takes care of his business.
Nothing wrong with it.
Which is nothing wrong with that. But you need to have a balance of guys that are quiet leaders that let their play do the talking, and you still need to have somebody go out there and let you know what's up. So,
yeah, absolutely. So it's fun to see. It's fun to watch. It's bittersweet because you got to say goodbye to some guys, but it is what it is. Right. But let's get this mock draft going, guys. Everybody in here.